Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Her Laundry Unfolded. I'm Wendy Babcock. I am a communication strategist, speaker, author, and a ton of other titles. I like to keep really busy. This morning I have Miss Stephanie joining me. I'm just super excited to interview her. I already just love her sense of humor, and I think this is going to be a fun interview today is what I think.
I'll try to keep it light and upbeat for you.
Awesome. Like I said, I'm just in a goofy mood today, so this works out perfect. It's funny how things just kind of align. Like I just was cracking myself up making a marshmallow video, and I'm just like, I'm in my basement laughing to myself. It's ridiculous.
Oh, you entertain yourself too. I love it.
Right. So it's great. Like when we connected before the video, I'm just like, this is perfect today. So I'm just going to jump right in. I want you just to quick introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about you. And
absolutely. My name is Stephanie Talia. I am the owner of Stephanie's Mindful Solutions. Basically, I have had skin issues my entire life. Mm-hmm. Basically, I was diagnosed with psoriasis actually in 8th grade. Wow. So growing up, I always thought I had, quote, sensitive skin. So for me, bubble baths were out. We didn't know why. It wasn't until about 15 years ago, I found out the cause of a lot of things going on. So that's kind of where my journey started. I've always tried to look for products that my body would not reject. But it's almost like I have a human litmus or something, because I basically have a 15, 20-day window where I'll try a new product. And if my body rejects it, it's full on war. I mean, and the only way I can describe it is completely uncomfortable, red itching skin. If it gets bad enough, I will rip my skin open uncontrollably. It's just, so I've always looked for something that would work. I mean, I don't have a huge right. So it's like my whole thing was, and people start laughing, and I'm totally okay with it, because I do. You got to have a sense of humor about some of this stuff, because some of the stuff.
No, I 100% agree. That's just, I can't even imagine. My daughter had some, what's that called? It's just more of a redness, and it gets kind of itchy and scaly.
Or eczema.
Eczema, yeah. On the top of her hand, she'd get really dry.
Yes.
She would just cry. It would just burn and itch. And so I can't even imagine what you go through with psoriasis. I've heard women talk about, and actually men and women, but I've had friends who have psoriasis, and they really, really struggle with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. That's what I don't think people realize. And again, it's like part of what I do is education. I mean, this journey's been a whole lifelong type thing, right? And half of my life, I would say more than half of my life, honestly didn't know what the issue was, or what, other than that I was diagnosed with psoriasis, right? So it's like, basically, in 8th grade, I had a huge flare up. My body basically went to war. My whole trunk basically, and all over me pretty much, was just red, inflamed, hurt to touch. And I'll never forget it, because you know how there's certain scents that bring back memories and stuff? Mm-hmm. Well, unfortunately, the one memory that actually always pops this back into my head and reminds me of this whole experience was when I'm in a construction zone and they're doing blacktop on the road, or macadam. So the doctor gave me a tube of stuff that basically was and after you get out 90% plus, who cares, right? It was either 94 or 98% tar based. It smelled horrible.
Wow.
It was like a dirty coffee. And I cried every night we put that on. And I honestly don't know what it did, other than I think it smothered it out. So it's weird. So every time, we're in a construction zone and they're doing something with, macadam or blacktop, it's like I think back to that, and I'm like, luckily, fast forward, I found solutions. I don't have to worry about using that anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
I imagine going to sleep just thinking like you're laying on a freshly tarred road.
Yeah, no, it was horrible. I can't even tell you how many shirts I ruined and everything else. And what scares me is, right, because part of my journey's been, I don't have an issue with pharma. I don't, right? Because I understand you need that. And believe me, I've used plenty of steroid creams over the years, but you tend to not want to use steroid cream for a long period of time because it thins your skin. It's actually not good for you. So my quest has always been to look for, I honestly don't have a huge criteria. It's like, I basically, and I joke with people about, when my body goes to war, I basically turn it around and it's RAW. I want relief, I want affordable, and I want it to work. That's all I need. Not necessarily in that order, but I need something, right?
Right.
So, I have been blessed to find a product 5 years ago that actually, and again, part of my journey was looking into natural non-toxic products. And I found this one that is actually, it's made in the US, but it's a C skincare product line. So it initially started on the external, addressing and trying to get relief externally. And then the whole reason why it's under an umbrella, my company, is because one particular product hasn't always necessarily worked for me. So it's several different things, because I'm blessed with additional allergies too. So that's where it gets really fun. And we'll talk about that too. It gets really funny.
Oh, wow. So
not funny when it's happening, but
right. So actually, just for people who are watching or listening who don't know what psoriasis is, can you kind of explain like what that does to your body? Because it's a very harsh disease.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for bringing that up, because I'm like, I guess I'm so used to having that. And I will tell you, one of the best compliments I have, because of the products that I use, a lot of people can't even tell I have skin issues because of the solutions that I've found. And that's what's been so exciting. But psoriasis actually can present itself in many different ways, depending on how severe it is. And to be honest with you, I've been extremely concerned with COVID, because one thing that causes huge flares of psoriasis is stress. So basically your body gets inflamed. It can show up, and depending on what kind of psoriasis you have, because there are different kinds, right? There's one that's called plaque psoriasis. And I lovingly have conversations with people and just kind of change the mindset a little bit sometimes, because there is a lot of depression, anxiety and stuff with this, because you look different when you have psoriasis. You tend to have red splotches. You could have like plaque psoriasis is it's a buildup of skin. So I lovingly tell people, and then because they've never thought of it that way, I'm like, oh, so you're an overachiever. You overproduce skin. And they're like, I never thought about it that way. And I'm like, yeah. You know, now granted, again, it's kind of funny, but it's not comfortable. But the thing is, if you have the solutions and the products and stuff like that can help, it's great. But yeah, so I mean, it can present that way. You can have psoriasis. They call it guttate. That's basically, it's just like red, blotchy, inflamed things. You can get it on the trunk of your body. You can get it on your arm. I will tell you, when I was diagnosed in 8th grade, it was basically more or less through the trunk of my body. But my body's gotten extremely creative since I've gotten older and started pulling a lot of toxic products out of my product line. So it's really reactive if it does react to something. So like how it presents itself on my arm will be completely different how it presents itself on my leg versus my trunk.
Wow.
So,
okay.
But yes, it can be very uncomfortable. I will tell you, there's been times where I've had to sit on my hands, not kidding you, count to 10 to try and keep myself from ripping my skin open.
Oh my gosh.
There are times where it's like, literally, I would mortgage my house to have something to stop the itching, because it was just so bad. Perfect example. I mean, reaction wise, I don't think it was so much a psoriasis thing. It was just a reaction to like the product, but I had gotten my hair dyed. And I literally ripped my scalp open within an hour. I had scabs. Thank God I had hair, right? But I had scabs on my head for probably 2 weeks, because I had a bad reaction. And the only thing my hairdresser and I can figure out is we think that the manufacturer changed their recipe or whatever of the chemicals that were in it. And that's what's been part of this interesting journey, is in the US, unfortunately, there are so many toxic chemicals in our products, and people are definitely catching on to eating well, the health and wellness, eating well, sleeping, and stuff like that. Some are starting to catch on with products too, but I don't think they've quite gotten that, where like the layering effect. And the thing is, if you have several products with fragrance or perfume in them, it's a trademark secret. They're not required to disclose what they put in there. They literally could put toxins in there, carcinogens and things that honestly are not good for your body, or your body just doesn't know what to do with it, right? So some of the products you use could inflame like eczema, could cause, psoriasis and things like that. So even changing 1 or 2 products, that you currently use could probably make a difference.
Oh, I bet. And I even think about even the things that we ingest as far as food goes.
Yes.
I try and pay a lot of attention now to how I feel. It's like, if I feel like really bloated and my stomach feels kind of hard, I'm like, what did I eat today that I'm feeling this, that I can kind of trace back, like, okay, I think that's it. So I imagine for you with your skin, you have a reaction. You're like, okay, what the heck's causing this today?
Yeah.
Like, what did I do? What's different?
Yeah, I am so reactive now, to be honest with you, because I have pulled so much. Literally the products I use, I am a label reader. I will not try anything unless I read the label. If it says perfume or fragrance, I'm done. I don't even try it, because I honestly don't know what chemicals my body will react to. I've had someone tell me, oh, well, you should go get tested. No, I don't want to, because the reactions that I have, because basically our bodies, our skin is our biggest organ on our body. We absorb 60% of what we come in contact with through our skin. It goes into
Wow.
the bloodstream. My issue is once it gets into mine, it takes me about 3 weeks if my body reacts to get it out of my system. That's how,
Wow.
that's how reactive it is. So about 15 years ago, I had an extreme reaction to a lot of products. Honestly, I've been using since my early 20s, and I'm totally going to age myself. I'm not young. So,
Well, you look young, so we'll go with that.
yeah. And so, well, it's my products. I'm not kidding you. I mean, honestly, it's like my skin has definitely changed over the last 5 years and definitely within the last 2.5, because additional solutions that I've found that I incorporate.
Okay.
Basically, yeah. So about 15 years ago, I had a huge reaction. My basically along my hairline, my eyes became swollen, red, dry, itchy, and everything. So I went in and got a patch test done. And that's kind of when the additional piece of my allergies kind of kicked into place. So basically they told me that I'm allergic to fragrance. So it totally made sense. Over the years, honestly, it's like there are some perfumes that will literally like take my breath away that people
Wow.
because it's not their fault. It's just something that's in it that reacts to my body.
Right.
But it totally made sense when they said that. And then I started doing research and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of stuff that they can literally put in these products and we have no idea. And it's just the way that my body reacts and stuff like that to kick it out. And detox, if it gets in my system, is just not worth me even doing it. So now I use natural products, anything with like organic essential oils in it. Yeah. And then basically hydration too. I mean, hydration is absolutely huge. I don't think a lot of people, some are becoming more aware of that, but you know, everything that I found and I use actually helps with anti-aging. That's just a wonderful side effect. So
Well, and I imagine, and maybe you've addressed this. I mean, I think most of us have washed our hands pretty well before COVID, but now it's like, it's a little bit more mindful. You're washing them a little longer. You're drying out the skin. So now I think the hydration is really important.
It is. So can I share a story with you? So, and that's the interesting thing, right? So I love helping people and I love sharing because I totally get it. I can't even tell you how much product away over the years that basically hasn't performed, hasn't worked. My body's rejected it, or like it started working, but then at the 15, 20 day mark, it was full on. My body's like, no, we're done, you know, and I'm having to like steroid creams or whatever. This is before I found my other products. Now Dead Sea Mud is my absolute go-to. I use that instead of steroid cream because that is the one thing in the way that it's just absolutely loaded with minerals and it basically helps with circulation, macrocirculation. It really gets in there and calms the skin. Yeah. So if I can share a picture with you, since you brought up COVID, because there are these little things that come up that constantly remind me, right? Because I'll kind of be going along and I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm doing well, this is me. It's not a very good picture, but this is me with blood on the back of my hands.
Okay.
So when COVID started coming up, don't get me wrong, I did wash my hands. I've always washed my hands.
Well, yeah, and I think most of us have, honestly.
Yeah. Well, we're washing longer, right? And the thing is, it's like I was washing more with like different detergent type soaps and stuff. And within, I want to say like 2 days, my skin it was to the point where it's like, I know my skin really well and it was about to crack, which is not good for anybody. And, you know, it's not good for a person with psoriasis because it's kind of an autoimmune thing.
Right.
And also basically you don't want open skin because it makes you more prone to disease and stuff and sickness. And so anyway, I literally I couldn't use the alcohol based anything like that either. So it's like I went to back to basics. I use my Dead Sea mineral bars because it restores the natural moisture barrier. Because that's the problem with some of the detergents. It was stripping the moisture barrier, which was causing my skin to dry, you know, which is not good. So I had to put the mud on it and then I'd follow up with a balm. But yeah, I have my mineral bars like at every sink, you know, they're antibacterial and stuff, but still it was like that was one thing that helped save my skin. Cause I'm like, so I use masks, not just on my face and my neck.
Right.
I use it on my arm, I use it on my leg, I use it on my trunk when I have issues. And hydration is hugely key. I mean, that's another thing that I found out within the last couple of years. You can drink water, doesn't necessarily mean you're hydrated if it's not structured properly to get in the cell. So you need that kind of help to get toxins out, you know, get your nutrients in and stuff too. So that's been extremely helpful.
Right.
So.
And I would imagine that wearing gloves and stuff right now would really aggravate your skin because my husband and I cater, so we always wear gloves, of course, serving food, but my skin feels awful. I take those gloves off. I just cannot wait to wash my hands. And then they just feel so dry and icky for like hours afterwards.
Yeah. It's been interesting. Yes. I mean, this whole experience I've helped a lot of people. I've actually been able to share a lot of products with people. it really bothered me when initially all this kind of started coming up, and unfortunately people started losing jobs and stuff. Cause again, stress is number one thing that sets off psoriasis. And
Wow.
I am on a lot of the Facebook pages and stuff like that. And it's like, it upsets me. It's really rough because I've suffered, and I hate seeing people suffer with skin discomfort or anything like that. It's, they lose their health benefits, and it's like, okay, well, try this and see if this works, or making suggestions and stuff, to try and help,
Well, and I would think too, right now, all the essential workers out there could probably use a lot of your expertise, because people who've never struggled with, sensitive skin or skin issues or skin disorders, now they're using the alcohol-based after customers. They're wearing gloves all day long. They're washing more frequently. And now they're probably experiencing the redness, the soreness, the cracking skin. And they probably never had that before.
No, and actually, that's a great point. I mean, some of my customers actually are nurses. So some of the balms that I have are meant to basically deep penetrate the skin and moisturize. And they tend to use those because obviously they wash their hands more. They have to, based on their environment and stuff. So it does actually help. But yeah, yes, I've been talking with a lot of people, and I don't know, again, I really like helping people and I like sharing. It's just an unfortunate thing. I hate seeing people suffer because I've been there. I have ripped my skin open. It's ridiculous.
Well, and it helps, not that it's not good that you've been there, but it helps that you understand like the severity of the pain and the agony. Like you said, you get to the point where you're just like, I'll do anything. I will do anything for relief.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's also unfortunate too, because people can be cruel and mean. And so it's like, and because, someone looks different, right?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, it's like people won't ask the question. Obviously, they're curious. Maybe they aren't. Maybe some aren't. But I honestly believe in my heart, not everyone is hateful, right?
Right.
But it's like, because someone looks different, ask them. But you can't automatically, people make assumptions and stuff that they're contagious and things like that, and they're not. And again, my heart just goes out to them, because it's not the depression, anxiety and stuff that's associated with it. It's super unfortunate that people have to go through that. So it's not only they're dealing with, the discomfort basically, because I mean, that's the one thing that I love, right, in helping people is like, if you address the skin and they can get skin comfort, your quality of life immediately improves, because you're not focused on your skin. You're not focused on ripping your skin open. You're not focused on, okay, I'm going to sit on my hands, count to 10. Oh, I itch so bad. Okay. 9, 10. And then you're like, itching, so.
Well, I think you said something too that brought up a coworker my husband used to have. She had, I believe it was plaque psoriasis, and she was a server in a restaurant that he worked. And I can always tell when she was having more of a flare, because she'd wear like a long sleeve shirt underneath her t-shirt. And I thought how uncomfortable that must be. But being a server, I would love to like pick her brain and ask her like what experiences she's had as people like look at her like, oh, you're serving our food. Because people can be really mean, of course.
They are. Yeah, they can be.
And like, well, are you contagious, like you said, or like, what is that? And little kids question it. And so it's that whole like aspect of being seen, and it's not a hidden disease. It's not a hidden thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, that's why I have an extreme amount of empathy. And I'll tell you what, a lot of people, I don't know. I honestly, to me, people with skin issues are heroes, because you literally cannot live the depression, the anxiety, the discomfort, the looks, but no one asks you the question, the comments and things like that are definitely not welcome, that are just completely misplaced, and not be a stronger person. I mean, some of the people that I've met are just absolutely incredible.
Right. And do you ever feel like you have to explain? Have you found yourself in a situation where somebody looks at you and you know why they're looking, and so you're like, oh, this is psoriasis and it's not contagious? And do you have kind of a little spiel that you end up doing?
No, that's a great question. I think when I was younger, definitely that was a hard experience, because we had stuff we had to change, right? So it's like, kids are cruel. I mean, they're curious, which is fine. But the thing is, if you're asking me a question, that's one thing I'm more than willing to answer. But don't make an assumption about me. So it's like, but yeah, no, I anymore when I'm older, unless someone asks me, I'm not going to explain, because I'm not going to apologize for this. I have people that'll be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Because I have weird allergies, right? I'm allergic to fragrance too. So part of that is, and what's really interesting, so you'll get a kick out of this. So like fragrance, cinnamol is a derivative of cinnamon. I am highly, highly allergic to cinnamon.
Oh, wow.
So if I smell it, it's respiratory issues. And then basically if I ingest it, my body basically completely goes towards itself. And so it's like, you know, I have a lot of people are like, oh, that's weird allergy. You know, that's more a conversation that I have now about like cinnamon. People don't believe me. They think I'm kidding. And look, Fran, I love you. I'm sorry I ruined your coffee when we have breakfast sometimes.
Oh my gosh.
She likes cinnamon in her coffee, but sometimes she can't do it when I'm around because it
right.
really issues. But I mean, it's like, more or less, I mean, that's more the explanation that I do when I'm older, and I kind of have fun with it. And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry, you know, and so sorry. And I'm like, and now I'm to the point where I'm like, I'm not, because had I not had these issues, number one, I wouldn't have become better educated on all the toxins that are in products that people just flat out aren't aware of.
Right.
It's unfortunate. A lot of this stuff is causing issues with their health, and they don't even realize it if they're not aware of what's in their product. I've been able to find clean product. I've been able to find natural product. I've been able to help people. I've probably met people I never would have met before.
Wow.
So it's like, I mean, it's like, don't feel bad for me. I have stuff that'll help, you know.
Right.
I've even been stupid enough because I have a sweet tooth.
Okay.
In my defense, it was the only thing in the house, and I really wanted something sweet, and it was a cinnamon candy, and it was chocolate, and I'm like, well, there's not that much cinnamon on it. Oh my God, I paid for that for 3 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
And the candy wasn't even that good, but I had
that's even the worst.
But I had the product to help me. So, you know, sometimes I am a little cavalier, but I know I have the product. I know what the products will do. I know what my body will do. And there's just certain stuff that I stay away from. But yes, I absolutely do have compassion. I usually carry around samples with me. I in Texas, they joke and they're like, oh, I'm packing mud. I always walk around with Dead Sea mud with me because I'm like, I don't know.
You're a mud slinger.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the joke, right? I will sling mud on anybody that wants to try it because, I mean, to me, it's magic. I mean,
right. That's awesome. And it sounds like obviously growing up with this, I think about the teenage aspect of it, like,
yeah.
We all had acne, but yet we all made fun of each other for acne. So imagine like something so much more severe than acne and how cruel kids can be. So there had to be almost like a mindset shift along the way from kind of feeling like a victim of almost bullying, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And harsh comments and explaining and feeling like, you know, to that, you know, I'm empowered. You know, I took hold of this thing. I can educate you and let me help you. So do you want to talk a bit about that shift? You know, kind of where it was?
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I think a lot of it I can contribute to my mom. I grew up in a military family, so honestly, we moved every 4 years. So I constantly, I mean, we were all over the country. I mean, up and down the East Coast and stuff like that. And yeah, people are just very different. Some are more understanding, some aren't. And I don't know. It's kind of one of those things. It's like, you know, my mom just, I don't know. I think she raised us to be really independent and strong and think for ourselves. And at some point, it's like, it was difficult. I won't lie to you, and being in school and stuff like that and having flare-ups and stuff. But it's like, as I got older, I'm like,
yeah, oh, well, that's who I am.
Like, oh, you're lost. This is it. I mean, it's like, you know, it's not contagious, but I'm
right.
You want to know about it, I'll tell you about it. You know,
right. Well, it's interesting.
You know, I think that's the thing when you get in situations like this, and even now with COVID and stuff like that. I mean, you kind of do. You see people's true colors, you know, and it's like people. I also contributed to, and I'm lucky to be surrounded. I have a really good circle around me, so it's like they're very understanding and stuff. And I would say that my husband, God bless him, because he puts up with me, is probably one of my best advocates. It's really funny because at first it was like, we used to joke about the cinnamon thing, and I think it used to irritate him because, you know, in Texas, barbecue is huge, right? And he smokes and stuff. He literally, this is how nice he is to me. He literally has his own sauce because it's got cinnamon in it. He called the manufacturer because it said spices. This is how careful I have to be, right?
Wow.
So it's like, it said spices. He called them and to find out what was in there, and they actually had cinnamon, but they didn't have it broken out. So he literally has his own sauce. I have my own sauce.
Wow.
That we put on barbecue.
And I think as my husband's a caterer, like I think about all the stuff that actually cinnamon is in. And it's not just the sweet rolls and all that. There's sauces, you know, mole sauces and things like that have cinnamon in them.
Yes.
Salads. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And it's funny. We'll go to a restaurant and it's wild because I love cinnamon. Growing up, I used to beg my mom to make cinnamon apples, cinnamon this, cinnamon that. And honestly, I didn't have an issue. And it wasn't until I was older, I think, until I started really pulling, honestly, a lot of the toxins products and stuff out of with the fragrance, right?
Right.
Now I'm like, seriously, if someone makes those and they smell good, I just run for cover. But it's like those cinnamon almonds, I can't be around that. I can't breathe. And
Oh
it's
God.
like, and it's like holiday time.
Oh
Holiday
yeah.
is horrible with those cinnamon pine cones.
Oh, I suppose I didn't think about that. I'm thinking like
my husband to check out at Kroger by himself one time. It was like he turned around because it was like we totally went shopping and we're totally fine. Got up to the registers and I guess some brilliant person decided to put him by the register. I was like at the door. He looks around like, and I'm at the door going like this,
like see ya.
because I couldn't breathe. I'm like, yeah, and I mean it's weird. You'll go into stores and you don't even realize it, and it's like it's crazy allergy, but it's one of those things. And when people have like organic oil blends too, I have to ask the question because it's just.
Right.
It's not something I'm willing to live with anymore. It's like, again, I have the product that'll help and stuff like that. And I've been blessed to be able to help other people, but it's not something I want to push myself on.
Right. Oh gosh, I can just picture that, especially going through COVID. I imagine when you can't breathe, you kind of have some coughing going on.
Mm-hmm.
Probably people are thinking, oh my God, she's dying of COVID right in front of our eyes.
It's funny. You'll see me disappear quickly. And I usually do like a Facebook Live kind of a joke because, well, you've got to know me. I have kind of a little bit of quirky sensibility, but it's like, I'll do like a Facebook Live, before Christmas holidays. And I'm like, hey, just giving you a heads up. If you see me kind of disappear, and you're basically have some sort of cinnamon incense or you're cooking something with cinnamon, don't be offended.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. I think of all things cinnamon around the holidays. Like that is like so predominant. Like, how do you even leave your home? I mean,
if we're in a big open space, it's not bad. But the issue is like, if we're in a small environment, right? Like a conference room or something like that. That's,
right.
If we're like in a smaller area,
right.
It's not that's going to go over well.
Oh my gosh.
So I have that fun thing going for me too.
Wow. That's, I can't even imagine. I'm laughing, but I feel bad for you at the same time.
No,
like,
it's so goofy though. It is. It's so funny. People are like, "Oh my God, that's a stupid allergy." I get that whole reaction. I'm like, "Oh, I know, isn't that like the craziest, dumbest thing?" But I'm like, it is what it is.
It's not like you picked it when they say, "Well, it's a stupid allergy." Oh yeah, well, I just picked it out of the blue and thought it'd be fun to have.
Yeah. Oh, I asked for it.
yeah. I think I'll be able to get cinnamon today.
Yeah. Well, and then that's kind of where some of the education comes back in, right? About fragrance and basically educating people on potential toxins that are in their products that they're not aware of, So.
Right. Oh my gosh. So that kind of leads me into like the business aspect of what you've done and how you've turned it into a career and how helpful you are for other people and your clients. I can only imagine you're probably a godsend for not half your clients, but all of your clients. They've got to be like, oh God, thank God someone did all the work for us.
I do like working with them. And it's funny because, again, part of the education on all because basically my go-tos, it's water, mud, minerals, salt, and energy. So it's like, there's salt therapy that helps with not only skin, but allergies. So there's a lot, again, I kind of first started out for myself trying to address the skin, but then now it's like we have solutions and stuff that'll help internally too, with the hydration and all of that. But it's been wonderful because a lot of people I don't think realize how great the Dead Sea products are and what they have in them. I mean, your body needs minerals and we're not getting a lot of our mineral intake. What better way to do it than through your products? I mean, you absorb it through your skin. They're not toxic. It allows your skin to breathe. And it's like, So, it's kind of just educating them on like, magnesium. I mean, people have magnesium deficiencies and don't even realize it, and it's like magnesium is absolutely so good. I mean, it's like sometimes you'll get muscle cramps. Could be magnesium deficiency. Well, put some Dead Sea mud on it.
And that's, and actually I've learned that through like when I've done keto, like magnesium is something that you get depleted of really quickly and you need to take a supplement.
Yeah. Yeah. You can have hormone problems if you're low on that. I mean, you can have high blood pressure, which that's another piece of, my history too. On my mom's side, high blood pressure is an issue too. So, again, the solutions that I've found and basically proper hydration has absolutely helped me get because my blood pressure was not in check about 2.5 years ago before I found my the one solution that I found. So it's like, that's absolutely been helping because I'm able to hydrate properly. My nutrients absorb correctly, and then the toxins flush out. So it kind of all helps internally, externally, everything.
Right. And I see that as a benefit too, is not having to orally take some of those things where it's part of
Yeah.
your skin regimen. So that's
Yeah.
what you're taking, like have okay, I remember to take my supplement here. And so I imagine
Yeah.
that's a
And,
benefit
I'm
too.
not against big pharma, but I'm like, I'm trying to stay off high blood pressure as long as I can.
Hmm.
I was definitely headed down that route. My blood pressure was ridiculously high, and then the solutions that I have found and then have introduced. I mean, basically, I go in and my readings are normal. I mean, when they're like 120 over 80, I'm like, that's a
Wow.
really good read for me.
Yeah, that's like fantastic. Yeah.
It was not like that probably 2.5, 3 years ago. And it wasn't from trying. It was just, part of it is hereditary. And then,
Right.
so it's like, I have one brother that's not on blood pressure medicine. I have one that is. And then, on my mom's side, she's on blood pressure medicine. And it's not because she didn't try. It's just, unfortunately, I think it's a hereditary type thing. Right. So,
Right.
but
And I see that a lot too with the blood pressure stuff,
yeah.
you know. Um,
Yeah.
not a fun thing to have to monitor all the time. And we had that on my mom's side, my grandmother. And I think my grandpa had high blood pressure too. So it's just one of those crazy things. And I know young people who have high blood pressure. My sister-in-law had
Yeah.
high blood pressure as a teenager,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Yep. Very
Wow.
interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, again, part of, teaching is about, letting them know all the minerals, I mean, and what they can do, because they don't realize, I mean, magnesium is great for the body. I mean, potassium,
Mhm.
calcium. I mean, it's like,
Oh
all of it.
yeah.
You can get all that in a lot of these products. And again,
Awesome.
you absorb it. It's not like you have to literally take it. Your body absorbs what it needs and then releases what it doesn't. So,
That's awesome. Well, and if you can walk me through, like, okay, let's say I was a client, and I have your website up here, stephaniesmindfulsolutions.com, so people can get a hold of you.
Mhm.
So can you walk through, like, if someone's interested, let's say I'm like, okay, now I'm curious about this. Can you tell me more? Like, what happens then?
Yeah, actually, I like to do consultations. I mean, they're free because I
Mhm.
like to get an idea, because obviously skin's different for everyone, right? Because
Mhm. Yeah.
the solution that we would talk through or work through with someone with eczema would be different than the solution we would use for someone with like psoriasis.
Right.
So with eczema, we'd stay more on like the gentler things with like the olive oil and things like that, versus like, with the psoriasis, we definitely would need to incorporate like mud, the mineral bars. So we
Right.
walk through, kind of talk through what they're dealing with, also find out kind of the severity, because the other issue is, for example, if someone has psoriasis, if they have open skin, because it happens, right? I mean,
Mhm.
if they have open skin, I definitely, like, first step would not be putting mud on it. That would, like, it would hurt so badly
Oh,
because there's
wow.
mineral content. But
Mhm.
like, I would recommend like something more gentle that has like mud incorporated in it. So that would be like a mineral bar. Um,
Okay.
and we would talk through a couple other things like some balms and things like that that they could use. And then once the skin starts adjusting and normalizing and calming down, then
Mhm.
they can start incorporating, like the mud and things like that. If, they have a flare up or they kind of just want to knock it out. Um, depending on what's going on too. I mean, how severe it is, and if they have it available in their area. We're blessed to have it in Frisco, Texas, near where I live. There's it's a salt therapy basically, and the person actually goes in and relaxes, and then they actually can get like a salt treatment. They just relax and breathe it in, and it goes into the skin. It's great for inflammation. It's wonderful for resolving skin issues. Also, if you have, like allergies, it's great for that too. Asthma, it opens up your bronchi. I mean, salt
Oh,
is it's pharmaceutical grade. It's unbelievable. I love
interesting. I have asthma, so I'm very curious about that because
it.
I
Yeah.
take a daily inhaler, and then I have, of course, my albuterol, my like rescue
Okay.
one.
Hmm.
So, and it's something that they're expensive. Inhalers are expensive, and the ones I use, especially, insurance either don't cover or they cover very little bit of it.
Mm.
So, if
Okay.
there were alternative things, like, so I may need to connect with you on that one because I'm very
Yeah.
curious.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
it's fascinating how all these things you think, skin, and then you kind of get in this lane of just skin, but now, like, as you're talking, there's so much more involved,
Yeah.
like the asthma and other health things. It's very fascinating.
Yeah. It's amazing. I laugh. I'm like, I'm a little weirdo, but I consider myself an analyst because I like to know the what, the why, and the how. Because again, I feel my purpose is everybody should be comfortable in their skin. I don't think anyone should suffer, right? I mean, it's
Right.
like however they feel that is, even if it's a mindset shift, if it's that with like skin comfort, because the huge thing is once you address skin and you're no longer worried about skin, your quality of life just drastically improves because you can focus on other stuff. You don't have to worry about, oh God, I don't know if I can eat that. Oh, I can't go over there. Or, oh, what if I try that? I mean, yeah, it's amazing. And yes, one thing has kind of led to another. I've always been interested in like salt therapy since I was younger too. I mean, I've always been fascinated by Dead Sea, to be honest with you, because of the healing powers in it. And I mean, it's JAMA, the Journal of American Medical Association,
Okay.
is documented very well about the healing powers of, a lot of the Dead Sea products. I would forewarn people, I don't talk about any products. I don't even try and compare. I know what the products that I use can do. I've used them. I've used them probably in a lot of different ways. They probably maybe weren't even intended for, but I know how they can heal and stuff. I just forewarn people that, yes, there are some other products out there on the market. Just be careful. If they have perfume or fragrance in them, you're losing the potency of what you should be getting in your product. But yeah, so salt has always fascinated me too, because basically I definitely like the whole idea of the salt therapy just because of what it does for several things. Again, it's skin, asthma, I mean, allergies, it's fantastic. And that's been the nice thing too. So if I have had skin issues, I've been able to go in and, have a session. I've had issues where, and I hate to say it, I'd like to say that I don't have at least one more allergy, but I think something sometimes floats around in Texas. I don't know what it is, but it's like it gets going with my respiratory and my sinuses, and I have to go in and get a treatment.
Wow. So in Wisconsin, we have a lot of pollen. Like I'll have a coat of pollen on my car when I go out there. It's so gross. It's just nasty, so you're breathing that in. Yeah. I was at my aunt's vacation home in Wisconsin, not far from where we're at. Mm-hmm. And it was nighttime and she has a light up by her deck. And we're like, what is that swirling by that light? And here's the pollen blowing off of stuff. And like, we're breathing that. And then like my allergies were flaring up. My husband's are like, we're sneezing. We're like, what in the heck?
You walk outside, one eye's, not both, but one eye's running, your one nostril's running.
Yes. Did someone punch you in the eye? What's going on?
I know there's been times where I'm like, all right, I need to get over and get a treatment. Because I'm like, again, it's like, I could take a pill, but it's like, why take one if I can get this? Because it's kind of, and the thing is, salt, I love salt because it keeps on, it's the pharmaceutical, it keeps on giving, right? So it's like, you're not only getting the treatment, but it continues to work because it's going through your system. So you're breathing it through the skin, you're breathing it in, and then basically it's working for at least 24 hours. And I mean, it's kind of similar to like a chiropractor, right? You go for however many sessions, and then once things start stabilizing, then you can back them off a little bit.
Wow, that's fascinating to me. Because like the allergy pills, even the ones that are non-drowsy, I'm like falling asleep midday. Like those things just knock me out.
Yeah.
So something that's not going to knock me out would be a huge benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to talk on that because I don't know. That's one of my, I love salt. I love what it does. It's just wonderful in what it does for skin and everything else. It's antibacterial, anti-inflammatory. It's great.
Well, and anti-inflammatory, that makes sense with the asthma.
Yeah.
And like you're saying with skin, I know what that's like to focus on an issue that you're having, like whether it's skin or like my asthma. If I'm having an asthma flare, that's all I'm focusing on. Like, okay, I got to be careful because certain scents will set off my asthma. And like, well, I can't go along.
What are the scents that, I'm just curious, what are the scents that set yours off? Or is it a particular one or?
It's a lot of perfumes.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know which particular ones, but walking through a mall and getting a whiff, I'm just like, I can almost feel like my lungs go, and I'm like, oh, that was not good.
Yeah. And what that is, what's so weird is it's the different chemicals that they put in there. Mm-hmm. So, and the sad thing is, I mean, it's like, it's crazy how clean the European Union is in their products compared to us. I mean, they banned like 1,300 chemicals. And yet I think we've only banned like 13 here in the US, and because they're protected under trademark secret. And it's like, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm like, that's just one thing that I'm like, okay, I guess I'm done with perfume and fragrance unless it's organic essential oil. But yeah, it's wild that you say that because I know like some perfumes or even colognes, like sometimes people walk by me and honestly, it's like,
yeah, you lose your breath.
Yeah. It gets me. And it's just something that like, sometimes it'll make me nauseous. I mean, that's, sorry.
Yeah. Right. And I found I can't drink some wines. There's chemicals in like white wine that flares up my asthma. I don't know what it is, but in some red wines. So I just don't drink because it flares it up.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know it's mostly white wines. I found like the Zinfandels. I
Okay.
was at a friend's house drinking. I'm like, why is my asthma flaring up so bad? And then did it again another night with her. I'm like, it's the wine. And I
Mm.
looked it up, and there's chemicals in wines that can flare your asthma. I'm like, what a weird thing.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
interesting. I did not know that. See, and this is another thing I love. I learn something new every day. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep.
it's
No, that's awesome.
yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Oh, this has been great. I'm so excited that you came on here because I'm the salt thing I'm really going to look into. So we're going to have to connect soon because I'm very
Absolutely.
curious about that and see if that's available out. Because I imagine you go somewhere, is it like a spa type of treatment, or what is that?
Yeah, so it's nice. So the one that you have in the local area, I actually do work with them because they're dealers too of the one product line that I have. So
Oh,
sometimes
perfect.
I'll demo it there because I'll sling mud on people when they come like I doing with them. They're just a lot of fun. But it's called the Salt Retreat, and yeah, basically you go in there and they have group rooms, but you're not on top of each other, right? So it's like you're spaced far enough apart, and you're basically it's like a spa. It's theater seating. You kick
Oh,
back,
wow.
relax, and all you do is like you're relaxing for 45 minutes in the group room. You can do an accelerated one, like a private room, if you want, for about 20 minutes. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I mean it's pretty incredible. I mean, I had sinus issues the first time I do use it for skin, but like I went in there when I was having some, whatever was floating in Texas, right in the air, and I was
Right.
having some sinus stuff going on. And I mean, I did within a couple hours, I could definitely feel like the pressure, dissipating because the salt was doing what it needed to do, and help.
Wow.
And then of course I was hydrating, but I mean, the salt definitely does help. Absolutely.
Right. I'm gonna be tagging a ton of people under this video because I'm thinking of people off the top of my head who I know have chronic sinus issues, who have plaque psoriasis, who are dealing with uncomfortable skin, and essential workers with the dry hands. And
Yeah.
so I'll be tagging a lot of people to watch this so they can connect with you.
Awesome. I would love to help anybody who's interested. And again, these are all the products that I have found. They're affordable.
Oh, well, that's huge.
Yeah. And the nice thing is too with the product line, it's like and that's what I liked about it too. They're mindful, right? Not only of what goes into your body, but they're mindful of like you don't have to use it's not like you have to use like 5 or 6 products to get the job done. It's like a bar, you can use a toner, and then like they have a 3-in-1 type serum. So it's like a 3-step thing and you're done. It's cheaper. It works.
Right.
The water helps. I mean, everything. It's just, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
And cost, let's face it, people look at a cost of something, they don't even want to listen to how good it is because they're like, I just can't afford it.
Yeah.
So then they have to sit and suffer in whatever they're experiencing. And that's just sad.
Yeah, it is. I've given away a lot of product because I do. I'm extremely concerned. And I mean, it's, and I understand a lot of people with psoriasis. I totally get it. A lot of them are absolutely looking for a cure, and I tell them, I'm like, I'm leaving that to the scientists and the doctors and stuff. But if you want some relief, and I'm like, and I try and give, it's like I have a lot of people, I've tried everything. I'm not doing one more thing. And I'm like, please try this just one more time. Just try this, and see what you think. And honestly, a guy's review who suffered from psoriasis for 25 years is actually the reason why I started with the bar. I mean, his review was like my wow. And I actually read the review to a customer the other day that I was talking to because she was having some issues with skin and stuff like that. And she did. And it was a reminder because her response was the same as mine. Wow. So the gentleman, and I'll tell you real quickly, he basically wrote on here that he had tried every steroid cream, this and that, ridiculous, insurance didn't cover a lot of it, blah, blah, blah. He's tried everything. Nothing really worked, extended period of time. So you could tell by his review, he's like, my wife goes to a trade show, gets this bar for me. He's like, all right, I'll try one more bar, and he's like, and he does, and he literally writes. I mean, he is one that had plaque psoriasis. And he said that the plaque was so thick, like on his elbows, it was almost like warts. And he said that he scrubbed really hard with the mud bar the first night, and he said it did bleed, but he said by like day 3, the red angry skin was light pink. The plaque was, and so I was like, when I read his review, I was like, and he even talked about his skin splitting and bleeding and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, if it gives this guy this kind of relief, I'm like, I'm going to try it. And I'm like, I noticed quickly too, like the moisture barrier being reset where, I didn't have to keep using a ton of lotion and, my skin kind of the coloring and stuff evening out. I mean, it was pretty interesting. Yeah.
That's fascinating, especially and men are very hesitant to do like skincare products. And I realized he was suffering with this, this
Yeah.
huge problem, but, kudos for him for trying it and
Yeah.
giving a review because they don't want to do that either.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
He listed it on his thing. I mean, he basically said, he goes, "It is a miracle," is what he said at the very end of his review. And I was like,
Wow.
I'm going to try this. I'm like, if it gave this guy this kind of relief, and I'm like, I've been fortunate enough to have been using the product for 5 years. And it was funny because I was using so much of it because, again, it was affordable.
That's huge.
And asked if I'd be interested in,
right,
working with people and selling it. And I was like, absolutely. I'm like, it works. That's what it says. It works.
And you're walking testimony. I mean, honestly, with everything you've probably tried and gone through and had flares up because you tried something and it didn't work. And that's like the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Now you have to try and fend off this 3-week long process.
Yeah.
Start again at scratch. I mean, how scared do you have to be then to try a new product? Because 3 weeks is a long time to deal with a big issue like that.
That is a fantastic question. Because let me tell you, it's like, that's what's so weird, right? So when everybody gets all excited and goes, "Oh yeah, we got 30-day, 60-day money back guarantee." Well, that's great. But I have to do one product at a time, because even after I've read the labels to make sure that I'm pretty sure it's safe, skin is skin, right? What works for me may not work for you, and vice versa. And it's like, or it may work and we're fine, we're good. But sometimes I get a little bit of anxiety around the 15, 20-day mark, because honestly, it's like, that's, if my body's going to reject it, that's when it's full on. But I don't want 3 weeks, but I'm better with that if I have to deal with it because of the products that I have. And then because we have the local salt therapy and stuff like that too. So it's like, I need to, incorporate that into it too, to help just really calm things down quickly. I will.
Right. But man, I keep thinking about that. Like, if I have a reaction, it's like a day. Most people are like, okay, I get a little bit of a rash from something or whatever, but 3 weeks.
It's weird the way stuff presents itself too, right? Because it's like, it doesn't, sometimes it's not full on, sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. I'll get something weird like on my arm, and I'm like, So I immediately put mud on it, right? Because I'm like, really feel suspicious. And then all of a sudden, it's like the next day I wake up and I got something on my trunk, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
Right. And then you're like, and you're like,
on my body, because I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Right.
Just get out.
Right. Thank God for your blood.
Just drinking tons of water to detox, and get it out.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh man. Well, oh my gosh, this has been great. Your laugh is contagious. I love your personality. So this is great.
Thank you so much. I absolutely appreciate you having me on. I love sharing my story. I love helping people. I honestly do. I just really honestly believe from the bottom of my heart, everyone should be comfortable in their skin, however they want that. If they want your skin and a better quality of life, I'm your girl. I can help you with that.
Perfect. And so if you're watching this, make sure you connect with Stephanie and just go to her website, stephaniesmindfulsolutions.com, and free consults. You can walk through, because like she said, everyone's different. So get in contact with Miss Stephanie, and we wish you well. Thanks again so much, Stephanie.
I had a really good time. Thank you so much.
Me too.
Awesome. I'll follow up with you on the salt stuff too, because we're talking about that too. You can tell.
All right. Yeah, we'll absolutely be talking. So.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.